Hey guys, what's up? So I just got new slime. Look how pretty it is. It came with some clay. It came with peach and white. But I already put some white in, so we're going to be putting some peach in. Because, yeah, I want to. Look at that clay. My gosh. So we're going to mold it into a heart. Because I love you guys. I know you guys are probably like, why are you acting like just Amira? Because I think she's a very good YouTuber. And she just makes me smile all the time, and she makes the hearts. So I hope this makes you smile. Because, yeah. I'm really bad at making hearts with clay, but I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Perfect. Love you guys. Even though it's an ugly heart, I still love you guys. And now we spread it. Spread. It looks like a dead animal. Oof, it's very stretchy. Oof, it's a good bubble pop. Okay, now we're putting the rest in. Because, yeah. We're gonna put the white clay too. But I know you guys are probably like, why is that so easy to stretch? I bet it's butter slime. I promise you guys, it's not. It is actually clay, but it is very soft clay. And it's easy to, like, yeah. Don't ask me how. I just got it. Plus, if this was slime, it would come with a lot more. Is that a piece of plastic? Oh my gosh, guys, there was a piece of plastic. Look. I'm literally pulling my clay off of this piece of plastic. This crusty, musty, dusty, rusty plastic. Okay, back to the slime. So this is a story time of how I moved to Valley Brook and thought it was going to be horrible, but that's where I met my best friends. What? Why? How did you expect me to know that? Oh. Hold on, guys. Okay, so let's get started. Hi, my name is Ava, and I'm from Philadelphia. I am this was a year ago, so I am 8 years old, and I love slime. This is all about how my life got switched upside down, because I moved to a place that I thought I would hate. But turns out I met my 5 besties there. And it was amazing until one day I went to school and found out that one of them was in my class. And at the time, I didn't know them, so I didn't realize that, I knew that she lived in my neighborhood, but I didn't know that this was gonna be my bestie one day. And basically, we sat at different tables, but our teacher allowed us to move on the first day of school to get to know each other. So I went to go sit with this boy named James and get to know him. And then I went to go sit with my best friend, Jalen. And at the time, I didn't know her because I literally just moved there. And yeah. So obviously, I'm like, oh yeah, hey. So I've seen you around the neighborhood, and I was just gonna ask if you wanted to be my friend. And she was like, okay, sure. And then she was like, well, I saw you talking to that cute guy over there. And I was like, yeah. I kind of have a crush on him, even though it's only the first day of school here. And this is 2nd grade. And I was like, so, what's your name? And she was like, oh, my name is Jalen, but you can call me Jay if you want. And I was like, okay, well, my name's Ava. You can call me Ave or Bestie or Butterfingers, because my hands were very slippery. And she was like, I call my other best friend Butterfingers sometimes. And I was like, oh, who's your other best friend? And she was like, oh, I forgot. Her name is Marin. And I was like, oh, Marin, I know her. She lives across the street from me. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, but do you have any other besties? And she was like, oh, yeah, I had this one girl named Avery who is my absolute bestie. We literally live in, almost the same development. Little area. Place, not development. We all lived in the same development. But we live basically right next to each other, even though we don't. But it feels like it, because we can literally just walk to our house in not even a minute. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I can walk up the hill to the park in a minute or two. And she was like, oh, that's cool. I live literally right next to the park. And I was like, oh, you're so lucky. And she was like, I know. And we were playing around, so she wasn't being rude or anything. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna go find someone else to talk to. And she was like, okay. So I go find this other girl, and her name is Layla Fariolo. She's one of the best people in the world. And basically, I was like, okay, well, what's your name? And she was like, oh, my name is Layla. And I was like, oh, nice. My name's Ava. You can call me Ave, Bestie, or Butterfingers. And she was like, okay. So, Ava, what is your favorite thing to do when you are allowed to go to the park? And I was like, my favorite thing to do is go on the swings or the monkey bars. And she was like, oh, nice. And she was like, where do you live? And I was like, oh, I live in this neighborhood. And she was like, oh, nice. And she was like, what bus do you on? What bus are you on? And I was like, oh, I'm on bus 39. And she was like, oh, I see that bus go by every day. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, I do. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And she was like, I know. Maybe one day our mom, maybe your mom one day will come over to my house and we can have a play date or something. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And I was like, and she was like, okay, well, we can do that. And she was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? And she was like, well, our time is almost over for talking to each other because, we need to go talk to someone different. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, then we might as well just talk about funny things or talk about our life or something. And she was like, oh, let's talk about our life. And I was like, okay, we can talk about our life. And she was like, okay, you go first. And I was like, okay, well, I have 3 cats and I live in a townhouse with 3 floors. Technically 4 if you count the attic. And she was like, okay. And I have bunk beds in my bedroom with an ocean, like, painted onto it. And she was like, oh, nice. And I was like, thanks. And then, I go to the park every day after school. And she was like, nice. And then I bully my bully. Because, there's a bully in my neighborhood. And she was like, oof. And I was like, well, he actually goes to this school. And she was like, wait, who is it? And I was like, oh, it's Jared. And then all of a sudden, the timer went off. So then I had to go to the next person. And I saw this girl named Michaela. And she was like, so I went over to her and was like, hi, this girl named Layla told me to come talk to you because she is your best friend. You're Michaela, right? And she was like, yeah. And we got along very well. And I was like, okay, well, my name's Ava. You can call me Ave, Bestie, or Butterfingers. And she was like, oh, okay. So, okay, there we go. And she was like, okay, well, maybe we should talk about our life. And I was like, okay, we can do that. And she was like, okay, well, I have, like 2 dogs. I honestly don't remember what she said. But she has dogs, and I live in a house. And my best friend's name is Avery. And I was like, oh, I didn't get to talk to her yet. And she was like, oh, really? You didn't? And I was like, no. So don't tell me anything about her. And I was like, okay. Or she was like, okay. Well, I have this other bestie named Layla. I see you've already met her. And she was like, yeah, I have. Or I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah, I have. And then she was like, okay, well, there's this girl named Jalen, and she is pretty nice, except for the times that she gets in a lot of fights with us. And she's like, and I was like, oh, well, we haven't gotten in any fights yet. And she was like, oh, you met her? And I was like, well, she kind of lives in the same neighborhood as I do. And she was like, oh, nice. And I was like, yeah. And I wasn't so thrilled about it in the beginning when we didn't know each other. But now, like, it's like almost a 2-year best friend anniversary. And yeah, hold on, guys. I'll be outside in 1 second. Bye, guys.